Bundle others' services and sell turnkey assets. What are turnkey assets? Turnkey assets are non-operational online assets like shells of websites, blogs with a small amount of content. The idea behind these sites is that the buyers of these sites have absolutely no clue how to put up a website. They don't know how to do it, or they don't want to know how. This is where you come in. You put in the time, effort, and energy to find specialists on Fiverr to put up a website. You pay them, and then you turn around and sell the starter website or low-content blog that they build for you. What are you really selling? Well, you're selling time, convenience, and most importantly, niche selection. You have to pick out the niche. You have to buy the domain name, and you have to customize the asset based on the niche. Those are the services that you are selling. Again, people would pay for this bundled service because either they don't have the expertise or they don't have the time to achieve that expertise. Advantages. This is probably one of the better ways to make more money selling other people's services. You're not selling your own labor. You are selling other people's labor. You also bundle different services together, so you leverage whatever is special in the services of others. This means that you get to play the owner of a sports team. Successful NBA professional basketball teams win championship after championship because the management knows how to cherry-pick the right talent. You can do the same on Fiverr. There are many highly talented and skilled people from many countries who do excellent work. You cherry-pick these people, so they work together to produce a website for you. Since your finished product is so vastly superior from digital assets created by just one person, you can charge a larger premium. Another great advantage to selling turnkey assets is the fact that the likely buyers of this type of bundled service tend to be professional buyers. Don't be surprised if the person who buys your website from you turns around and sells it to another person after your buyer pumps up the traffic, creates more content, and actually starts making money from the website you sold that person. They then take the website to the next level, and then they flip it for many times the price you charge them. That's how the game is played. What do you think will happen if that person is able to sell your pre-built turnkey asset for a lot of money? That's right. He or she will come back to you again and again and again. The bottom line here is simple. You are not selling your time directly. Sure, it takes time to play project manager and coordinate all these different Fiverr freelancers, but you're not doing the actual work. Your main work is basically finding a buyer. Disadvantages. The big disadvantage to this Fiverr monetization model is that you have to come up with the cash up front. You're going to have to pay your specialist up front. You're going to have to pay the person finding the domain name. You have to shell out some cash for the WordPress theme designer as well as the person customizing it. You probably would also have to get somebody to produce content as well as graphics. This can add up. The good news is, Fiverr is so cheap. Don't be surprised if it takes you all of $50 or a maximum of $75 to come up with an asset that you can turn around and possibly sell for $200, or if you really do your homework and are good at closing, $400. Another drawback to this model is that you need to pick the right niche, or your asset might not sell. This is a big one. If you pick a niche that has a fairly low demand or has very high standards, you're probably not going to sell the asset that you have built. While it's true that you can mark up the amount of money you paid the service providers to produce the asset, you still have to sell many of these assets to make real money. The average American needs to make around $5,000 just to achieve average income. This means that if you are turning around and flipping assets using Fiverr labor and your average is $200 a website, you need to move 25 of these sites. Now, that might seem like a low number, but you're basically going to have to give yourself a quota of selling one website pretty much every single day. That's quite a tall order. Another weakness of this business model is its focus on customization. You have to customize the asset each and every time. You cannot resell the same asset over and over again. You're not selling private label rights, PLR material here. The reason why you are able to charge a premium is because this is custom work. This brings up another disadvantage. Since you are dealing with custom work, there's no assurance that the people you hire to get work done on Fiverr will produce the same quality the next time around. This can ruin your reputation. You might have a repeat customer who is expecting the same high quality as the site that you just sold him or her, and it turns out that your service provider simply got lazy or just barely put in any effort and they produced crap. Not only would you fail to make a sale with your repeat customer, but that person will probably not come back. Finally, one of the most common ways you can sell turnkey assets is to list it on Flippa. Depending on your niche, your listed asset may not sell the first time you list it. This means that you have to relist it again and again. Unfortunately, you have to pay for each listing on Flippa, and these listing costs can cut into your profits. It's not unusual for people to get so desperate about unloading an asset that they price it so low, and when you factor in their Flippa listing fees, They actually lose money. Step-by-step directions. Step 1. Find turnkey assets that sell quickly at decent pricing on Flippa. Essentially, you're going to reverse engineer what already works on Flippa. There's no need to reinvent the wheel. Go to flippa.com and look for websites for sale. These are websites that are not operational and are totally brand new. Look at the different niches that are selling. This is very important. Do not look at stuff that hasn't sold yet. Look at auctions that have successfully closed. Pay attention to the niche and the price. A pattern should emerge. Focus on niches that command really high prices. Now, don't get excited. Just because you found an auction where a totally brand new site sold for $2,000 doesn't mean that you should rush out there and start building a similar site. Pay close attention to similar websites on Flippa. Does this type of website sell quite a bit every month, or is this a once-in-a-blue-moon kind of thing? Your job is to look for a niche that sells frequently on Flippa at a high enough price. Step 2. Find service providers on Fiverr that can be used to build your asset. Now that you have a clear idea of the turnkey sites that sell well on Flippa, break down the kinds of services needed to build such an asset. If you're selling websites, you obviously need a WordPress theme designer, a WordPress developer, which includes installation, content, graphics, and you also need a person to find the domain. Put all these together so you can have a list of services for which you would look for contractors. Next, you go to Fiverr and buy strategically. Step 3. Buy several gigs to build the asset. This seems pretty straightforward, but it's actually more complicated than that. Remember, you're building a custom asset. This means that you are building something of quality. This is not stuff that you're just blowing through. This is not just stuff that you're trying to zip through and build as quickly and as cheaply as possible. Believe me, if you do things that way, it's going to show, and people looking to buy your asset probably won't because they have seen better quality. Do not compromise quality. The good news with Fiverr is that there are so many service providers there that you can pay very little to get very high quality. Do that. Step 4. Sell your turnkey asset on Flippa. This is pretty straightforward. List the turnkey asset that you have built and sell it on Flippa. Ideally, you should have the website ready for transfer on your server. It should have its own dedicated domain name. Make it easy for you to transfer digital assets on your server. Coordinate with the technical support people at your host to ensure that the assets that you plan on selling are very easy to move. List your asset on Flippa. Now, don't get excited. I know you've done your research, and I know that the chances of this thing selling the first time you list it are quite high. However, be ready for the possibility that you may have to relist this item several times before you can move it. Factor the costs, as well as the value of the time you spend relisting it into the final price of the asset. Offer premium, value-added services. This way of making money off Fiverr actually involves you trading your time for money. Now, don't get upset. Don't finish this training just yet. Give me a chance to explain. The big difference is you pick higher premium services. This is the key. There are many services you can offer on Fiverr. Unfortunately, given the geographic distribution of service providers, you're going to get caught in a race to the bottom. That's right. There are people who are ready, willing, and eager to work 10 hours for $5. Are you willing to do that? If you're like most people who live in America or Western Europe, the answer should be a resounding no. After all, you value your time. If you just wanted to earn $5 for 10 hours of work, you probably would be doing something else. There are a million other things that you could be doing in your neck of the woods to earn far more money than $5. Let's not kid ourselves. However, that is always a possibility if you are careless regarding the service you offer. The first thing that you need to do is to pick higher premium services you can offer. If you type in a skill set or a service, and it turns out that the average fee charged by the provider of that service on Fiverr is $100 or $200, then you may be onto something. Additionally, you can bundle many different tasks that you do yourself and you charge a premium. Here are some examples. If you want to just offer premium services and get paid more for every hour of actual work you do, then you should switch from SEO writing or regular website copywriting to higher value writing markets like technical writing, handbook writing for products, sales copywriting, or medical writing. Similarly, certain types of academic writing, usually involving PhD dissertations, pay a lot more money. You can also bundle services along with your main service. You're still offering writing services, but you would include a lot of add-on value. For example, you're offering SEO writing. Their client gives you a keyword, and you write a 1,000-word article. Well, that kind of service is currently getting $5 on Fiverr. But you may get away with charging $10 or $15 for that same service if you add pictures to the text that you produce, format it so that it's more readable, and upload it to your client's WordPress website. Generally speaking, when people see add-on services put together in a bundle, they are more likely to pay extra. Advantages. There is really one advantage worth talking about here. You get a higher dollar value per unit of time and work you put in. You end up working less and earning more than the normal way of making money on Fiverr. Disadvantages. To offer premium services, you must first know how to perform such work. This requires mastery, expertise, credibility, and authority. In other words, you have to pay your dues. This is not something that you achieve overnight. I can't call myself an SEO expert after reading an online book or a couple of blog posts on SEO and then start offering that service on Fiverr. If I were to do that, people will see me for the fraud that I am, and I can only imagine what kind of reviews I'll get. It all boils down to results, and it takes quite a bit of time, effort, and focus to become an expert that delivers the kind of results the market demands. Are you willing to put in that time? Also, the higher value of the service, the more specialized it becomes. This increases the dollar value for that service. So far, so good, right? Well, here's the problem. This is basic economics. When the price of anything goes up, the demand usually goes down. That is the bottom line. People are always looking for cheaper alternatives. People are looking to break up expensive items into cheaper parts. There are all sorts of coping mechanisms to high prices. Your service is not immune to these. This might translate to limited demand. Now, this doesn't mean that this is the end of the world. If you were charging $200 per project, instead of getting a project every other day, you might get a project once a week. But if you were to add up all the orders that you get for that high-value service, you may actually still be making more money than if you were to offer a low-value service that is in higher demand. This is good news if you think about it. You work less, yet earn more money. What's not to love? Unfortunately, you have to be very careful regarding the niches of services you offer because some niches have such low demand that it's just not worth it regardless of how much money you charge. Another disadvantage to this Fiverr alternative is the need to build a brand or reputation. If you want to justify why you are charging $25 for something that other people charge $5 for, you'd better have a solid brand or reputation to back it up. As you can well imagine, it takes some time to develop such a reputation. You create a brand based on consistent quality. This takes time. Finally, there's always a chance that people will not buy from you if they see that you're offering a premium service on Fiverr. To these people, Fiverr is the kiss of death. These people have essentially written off Fiverr as far as quality goes. According to these individuals, when a service is listed on that platform, that service is no good. It's going to be almost impossible to persuade these people to buy from you regardless of the fact that you have a lot of testimonials and you are able to produce solid results. You're just going to have to live with this disadvantage. Unfortunately, depending on the niche of your service, the majority of people who might demand your service might think like this. Step-by-step directions. To offer value-added services, you need to take 3 steps. First, you need to figure out what your areas of expertise are. You have to write down all the things that you are good at. Please understand that these are things that you're actually good at. This means people compliment you or may have even paid you for this type of work. Of course, you did it as a favor, so the payment is basically a token. Regardless, there has to be some sort of objective indicator that people view you as an expert in a certain type of activity. This must be objective. This is not just your girlfriend telling you that you're a great writer. Of course, she says that even though she could barely read the stuff that you crank out because she doesn't want to hurt your feelings. That's not the kind of external validation I'm talking about. This has to be from people who would objectively say that you are a credible expert or an authority when it comes to this type of service. Look for those skills. Write them all down. Find high-value sub-niches or bundle small services you can do in your niche. Now that you have a list of things that you do reasonably well and that a lot of people praise you for, these services must already be listed on Fiverr. The next step is to look for sub-niches or specialized versions of those services. Research on Fiverr and see how much people are paying per service. You should have a clear understanding by this point of just how much your services are worth. Now you have to make a decision. Are you going to go ahead with this low-value service, or am I going to enhance its perceived value by doing other things that I would do myself? Again, going back to the writing example, if the only thing you can do reasonably well is to write SEO keyword articles, that's going to be the service you offer. However, this doesn't mean that you're going to offer that service for $5 just like everybody else. You can make things better for yourself by including additional services. You can say that you'll add pictures, you will format, you will add citations, you will interlink the stuff that you are producing with previous items on previous articles on your client's website, and you are also going to upload this material. All of a sudden, the service that you could have only charged $5 for per 1,000 words you might be able to charge $15 or $20 for. The great thing about this is if you factor in all the additional services, they really don't add much time to the service. Most of the time is eaten up by the writing itself. This way, you actually increase the value of your time by including these add-on services. Create a package and get testimonials so as to convince people to buy your package.